show has been made possible with the continued support of the 7 Stars Partners.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have some wind noise today, but that's okay, because the sun is out and it's spring and I don't have to wear a jacket. So it's a trade-off. Hello, friends. Yes, indeed, I passed my COVID test and they let me back in the country. Those fools. And after a week of passing out at 6 p.m. and then being wide awake at 4 a.m., I'm finally getting over my jet lag and back on track. I did enjoy my trip to the United Kingdom, especially seeing so many old friends. And when you've been in the industry over 20 years, most of them are old, like me. I had been hoping that the review of the Gambling Act would have been published while I was over there, you know, so I could grab some interviews and get some opinions. But as it turns out, that report is now expected next month at the soonest. And the UK Gambling Commission seems to think it's going to be world-changing. Of course, as we'll find out, they have some pretty liberal interpretations of words. The chief executive of the UK Gambling Commission was in attendance at ICE, however, and while he ignored my repeated invitations for dinner, he did speak at the expo saying that we are now living in a much changed world and that there are some universal truths about the gambling industry and that we need to be realistic about those truths. Apparently, this is one of those occasions when they have a pretty liberal interpretation of truth and realistic. You see, his commission just announced that some changes are coming to our industry which focus on problem gambling and border on clairvoyance. Ooh. Wow, that was neat. Starting in September, operators not only have to identify problem gamblers, they have to identify anyone who could potentially become a problem gambler. In what sounds like a Tom Cruise sci-fi film from 2002, operators must monitor players' spending and patterns of spending, how much time they are playing, gambling behaviors, and so much more, all in some precognitive way to stop problem gambling before it happens, apparently. This Orwellian move is just one of several changes scheduled for this fall, scheduled even before the publication of the Gambling Act review. So, Big Brother arrives in September, and he's bringing friends, and he'll be watching. The wind seems to have died down, for now. I did want to mention that the APCW walk-around video from the IGB affiliate event has been published. That's the one where I go around and visit various booths and really bug the shit out of people at the show just to have some fun. So, if you like that sort of thing, you can find the video in the GPWA forums and on the APCW's YouTube channel. Now, when it comes to overreaching regulation and nanny state politics, we know the United Kingdom is head and shoulders above the rest of the world. But they don't quite have a monopoly. And while other jurisdictions may consider them the gold standard of gambling regulators, that's not an opinion universally shared by those being regulated. Nevertheless, those at the Dutch Gaming Authority seem to be trying their bestest to emulate the UKGC. And while I do applaud the Dutch for their efforts to protect society's most vulnerable, some of their actions appear eerily similar to the hyper-regulation we're seeing in Britain. Take, for example, the consideration of time limits for online gambling activity in the Netherlands. This, in addition to deposit limits, and in case you're thinking, well, I'll just deposit a little here, here, and here, and then go play here, here, and here, well, they're on to that shit, and they're gonna monitor cross operators, so nice try. Now, you know, I can't think of another industry really, or activity, where such a thing would be tolerated, not even in land-based casinos. The possible exception is being cut off at a bar after you've already had too much to drink. Of course, if you live in the UK, they would simply monitor your drinking habits and cut you off before you got drunk. But I always thought that in a free society, people could make decisions for themselves, even bad decisions. Call me a romantic. And of course, if you make bad decisions, well, you deal with the consequences yourself. I'm old-fashioned that way. But in a world where increasingly no one really seems responsible for their own actions anymore, I suppose this is just the natural progression of things. The removal, that's great. The removal of personal decisions, 'cause Big Brother knows best after all. Regulators are setting us up for a train wreck in this industry, at least in the United Kingdom. And that light you see at the end of the tunnel, that isn't the end. That's the Gambling Act review coming head on the same track. So get ready for that collision. When it happens, I'll be here over the several weeks it's going to take to unravel this barrel of crap. You know, God willing. And while we wait for the hell am I? We got monkeys? What the hell that was, but be watching behind me. They don't quite have a monopoly. And when it... Now that I know is a horse. Freaking wild kingdom out here.